using concealers or foundations which are very kind of like full coverage and long lasting, you know, the ones that say long lasting, you are more likely to get a cakey finish with that. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, which is all about educational beauty. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can set your face with powder without it looking cakey. This is a struggle I know that a lot of people have, so I'm going to solve all of that for you today. Now, if you do like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. And I'm over on Instagram, so please do come say hi there too. And let's jump straight into the video now. This is another video I've really been looking forward to because it's answering a question that you guys have been asking me for quite a while now. How do you stop your foundation from looking cakey and heavy and just looking like, you know, you've worn it for 3 days straight? Now I'm going to address that today, and we're going to start right from the very beginning, which is your skincare, because ultimately we want to make sure our skin is at its best for that application in order to avoid cakiness. Now, it's not just about your skincare, it is also about little tweaks that you make in between, or it could be that you have to completely change your routine or your technique, because when you watch this you might think, oh my god, I apply my makeup completely differently to that. Now, it doesn't mean my way is the only way. It could mean that you take away little bits from this and you implement it into your current routine and it works for you. I'll talk through everything and all the key points that can end up making your skin or your foundation look cakey, and then you can take away what you want to take away from it. But ultimately, if you were to do this right from the beginning to the end in the same way that I'm doing it, you're probably going to have the best results. Now let's move forward. So I don't have anything on my skin right now. My skin, I've washed it with my face wash, and now I'm going to go straight in with my skincare. Now first off, I'm going to start with my eye cream. Now you've got to make sure you cover all bases. You know, like make sure that you do look after your eye area as well. It's not just about the kind of larger surface area of your skin. I'm using my Drunk Elephant C Tango multivitamin eye cream and just putting that on my finger, and I'm literally just going to press around this area. Honestly, when I start putting my skincare on, I just feel like I'm just giving it a big glass of water. It feels so good. That's including my eye area. That's why I said that, because my eye area is feeling a little bit dry. Okay, now we've applied that. Now ultimately, you want to make sure that your skin is thoroughly hydrated so that you don't get that kind of dryness coming through. That's the first step. We want to make sure our skin is well hydrated, nice and smooth, and the perfect base for your foundation application. Now I'm going to go in with some serum, and that serum is going to be something which is really going to give me that extra boost of hydration. This is the Drunk Elephant Be Hydra Intensive Hydration Serum. I felt like I could have said that with a bit more of a flow, but it didn't really come out the same way. Okay, so let's go in with this. You can go in with any kind of like serum that gives you that extra hydration. I am just gonna like press this into my skin. I like to just kind of like butterfly tap my face. I don't even know if that's what it's called, but I just made that up because that's what it feels like. Not that I know what it feels like. A butterfly tap. That's just so weird, isn't it? But some of the stuff we come out with, or mainly me. I'm just tapping this on, and this is giving me that extra hydration. Sorry guys, I need to have my coffee. Look at the froth on that. I literally the other day I went up to my husband and I was like, babe, look at this. This is like the ultimate cappuccino. We just recently bought an espresso machine and I'm absolutely loving it. Like this was my husband's idea and I'm fully utilizing it way more than he does. Like he wanted it. I was quite happy with my granules I was having, but now I'm just completely been converted and I love it. I'm telling you, this is better than most of the cappuccinos I buy. This is so good. If you want to know what cappuccino, what the actual pod is, then you know what? I will write it in the description below for you. Now that we have let that hydration, that serum really sink into the skin, I'm going to get my moisturizer and I'm going to use my Winged Marrakesh Rich. And this is going to give us that extra hydration and moisture that we need. Now there is a fine line between, you know, adding all that hydration that you need and also applying too much product, because I don't know if this happens to you yourself, but I have had previously when I used to teach makeup artists, they used to say to me they struggled with this when it comes to clients, which was when they apply the skincare, they then go in with the foundation or the moisturizer, and the concealer, almost like product rubbing off the skin. It's like when they're going in and buffing the foundation in, they're rubbing off off skincare and you can see the little bits. So I'm not sure if that's ever happened to you yourself, but it's something I do remember was an issue for some kind of makeup artists that I used to teach. The reason for that is usually because there's too much product on the skin, more than the skin can kind of take. So for example, if I put on a certain amount of product, that same amount of product for you may not work well, because it may mean that my skin kind of like sucks it all up and your skin, it just kind of sits there and it's not really absorbing the product as much. So don't just assume that you know, when it says like a pea-sized amount, that you need that amount. It could be that you need less, but it's really trial and error and kind of like figuring out what you feel sits good with your skin. If you do feel like you have applied too much skincare and you can feel like it's just way too much there before you apply foundation, I would get a tissue and literally just kind of like blot, not immediately, but just obviously wait for your skincare to kind of sink in and then take off the excess. Now my skin feels nicely kind of hydrated, and I am going to go in with my primer. I'm using my Milk Hydro Grip Primer. The reason I love this as a primer, one, it grips hold of the makeup, so it really keeps that makeup in place. Like it literally leaves like a tacky finish on the skin. Secondly, it does give me that hydration. And thirdly, that I didn't actually mention a third thing before, but it is a clean product. You know you're not putting absolute rubbish on your skin. Now I'm going to put a little kind of pump of this. I don't put too much of this because I do feel like a little goes a long way. And then with my fingertips, I'm just going to smooth it over my skin, and I don't rub it in too much. Like once I've got a nice even layer over my skin, then I just let that kind of sit. See how I just went over once on each area? And guys, how are we feeling the hair? So basically I'm kind of like growing it a little bit just until I get really super fed up of it. Like I was planning to just cut it short again, and then I was like, you know what, let me give it a go. The problem with growing it when it's short is it can end up, well, for me anyway, I feel like I need that extra body in there. So I went and had a few tapes put in. I'm absolutely loving it until they start to annoy me, but I'm hoping I'm gonna love it. I have had them before and that was kind of annoying, so I kind of asked them to place it in different places so that it wouldn't feel so, you know, like high and I couldn't see it. So now you just totally cannot see it, and I'm actually loving it. But I still need to kind of wash my hair myself and see how that goes. Okay, let's go in with concealer. Now I'm going to use my Tarte Shape Tape in 35N medium. I have had a few of you comment, the odd person here or there, say that, oh wow, that's just way too much product when I'm applying it on myself. I just want to make it very clear that you may feel that this is way too much product for you, and it probably is, you know, it may be, but for me it works well. And plus, when you're on camera, you kind of have to like go a little bit extra with it just so that you guys can actually see, because it is really difficult sometimes on camera. You can't always see a vast difference, so just bear that in mind and apply how much you feel you need. And if you're unsure, apply less than me, because you know you're probably not applying as much makeup as I do. I love it, it's my job. If you feel that once you've applied it, it's still a little bit too much or it's not enough, then just the next time just adjust it accordingly. Eventually after 2 or 3 tries, you're going to get it right. Just remember, it doesn't happen overnight. Give it a few tries, you will get there. I have faith in you and I know you can do it. So, okay, we're going to apply just a bit of concealer on my lids because we really want to just kind of clean that area up first. And I'm just going in with my beauty blender. Well, this is actually my Real Techniques one. And I'm just kind of like pressing this in. Now it's really the main base area that I want to show you in terms of like, you know, avoiding cakiness. So let me just get on with this. And then I'm going to set it with powder after, and then we'll move on to the face. Now we're going to go in with the same concealer and we're going to focus on covering those under eye dark circles. So first off, I am just going to get a little bit of concealer here and here. Again, apply however much you feel that you need, or just trial it out and see what you need. I'm going to get my sponge, and my sponge is damp. So what I've done is I've wet it, squeezed it, then I put tissue around it, squeezed it again so that it absorbs all of the excess water, and we're ready for it to be used. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to squeeze it slightly to make the tip of the sponge thinner, and I'm just going to like buff this in. Now I really want to focus on keeping the concealer just around the under eye area, not really spreading it out so much, because the main coverage I want is on my under eye area. We're going to go in with the concealer now. Now what I'm going to do is sculpt, and like I said, I'm using my underpainting technique, and I'm just going to like kind of sculpt my cheeks and just add a little bit of kind of depth to the face so it doesn't look so flat. So I'm going to start from the top of the ear and just kind of like work my way in, and you guys know never to come too far in, just keep it on the like perimeter of the face. because it's much more natural if you blend it into the hairline and outwards. And we're just gonna like do this area here, which is gonna help to like define the jawline. Now I'm just gonna buff this into the hairline. And I love this concealer because it literally just blends in so easily. So we're just keeping it in the same area, but we're just like kind of buffing it so that it's kind of like nicely faded and just a bit softer on the skin. I'm flipping this over. This is my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood complexion brush, by the way. And we're just keeping the shape the same everywhere, but softening the edges. Now, because I can see that kind of hydration still there, that's a good thing because it means that the skin hasn't already kind of dried up with that concealer on top. Now, it did help that I used a brightening concealer. It's a concealer which doesn't kind of fully dry matte, because if I had used a proper like full coverage concealer which was a matte finish to it and dries up very quickly on those areas to sculpt, then we would have ended up with more of a cakey finish. So you've got to really look at the type of concealer you're using if you are underpainting. Even if you're not underpainting and you're doing your concealer or your sculpting contour on top of foundation, you still need to think about the texture that you're using, the finish that you're using. So that's a really key point within this whole kind of tutorial. I really want you to think about the textures that you're using. If you're using concealers or foundations which are very kind of like full coverage and long lasting, you know, the ones that say long lasting, you are more likely to get a cakey finish with that. So don't always think it's just down to your technique. It can also be down to the type of product that you're using as well. So if you use a concealer or a contour product which has more of a kind of fluid and natural finish to it, so not drying, isn't a matte finish, then you're better off with that because it isn't going to dry out your skin too much. So if you want a foundation or like a foundation look that lasts all night, so you want that long lasting effect, follow this exact method. So every step that I'm giving you, if you follow it step by step, it will last all day. I never ever go for long lasting foundations because I prefer to kind of make it long lasting with my own technique rather than rely on the drying ingredients in that end up drying your face out, making your face look cakey. Although it may last all day, it can sometimes end up looking just a bit too heavy and too drying on your skin, which in turn makes you look older. So try this technique and see how it works for you. It may work really well for you. Now I'm going to use my foundation, which is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation in number 9 Neutral. I'm just going to put a little bit on the back of my hand. Now I'm going in with my sponge, and what I've done is I'm going to grab that product like that, swipe it across, and then buff it into the sponge before I buff into my face. So I haven't gone over all of that product, just taken a little bit, and then I have basically buffed it into the sponge first. Make sure there's not too much product on this, which is why we're grabbing a little bit, buffing it into the hand before we buff it into the skin. Because what happens is if you go in straight in with that foundation, you're applying way too much. The other key point I want to mention is cakiness can also be down to using too much foundation and too much concealer, more than your skin can handle and more than you look like you can handle. And when I say look like you can handle, it's based on some faces being able to carry off more makeup and some faces not being able to carry off more makeup. That is a thing. It does exist. Trust me, I have worked on hundreds of faces. I know. By looking at someone, I can tell, right? Are you going to be able to carry off more makeup or not? Okay, we're going to go in with this foundation. Now, what I'm doing is making sure the sponge is damp, because that dampness in that sponge is really going to help to stop it from kind of looking dry. I'm going to go around the nose. I had this spot here and now it just looks like I have like a beauty spot, which I'm totally fine with, but it isn't. It's a scar from the spot. Okay, I'm going to go on the under eye area. There's not too much foundation on my sponge. Remember what I said, buff it into your hand first and then buff it into your skin. I'm actually using such a small amount of foundation because you don't really need a lot if you've got the coverage with your concealer. The foundation is just there to kind of add a veil of color and tie everything in together. Now, if you feel that your sponge starts to dry out throughout the foundation application, it means you probably didn't wet it thoroughly enough and you've probably not left enough water in there, although it shouldn't squeeze water out. Like, you shouldn't squeeze it and then still see droplets coming out. So you've got to get that kind of right. There's been a few points that I've mentioned out, and obviously it does have a lot to do with your skincare as well, but there are points that I've mentioned that really are key to making sure that your foundation doesn't look cakey throughout this whole routine so far. Now is where I'm going to show you how you can use your powder in the correct way to avoid that cakiness so that it doesn't look heavy, it doesn't look like you've got too much foundation on, but at the same time that your skin still looks flawless, right? Now I'm going to go in with my Hourglass Veil setting powder. Firstly, what I want to do is make sure that I don't have any creases on my under eye. So I'm going to get my sponge, squeeze it so that the point is really thin. And I'm just going to make sure there are no kind of creases on my immediate under eye, like really close to my lower lash line, because that's where I tend to get those lines. I'm going to go in with my powder and I'm getting my Real Techniques setting brush. I am going to basically press this in now. And I'm just going on my under eye. Forget about the rest of the face at the moment. Usually I press my powder on, but I really want to show you a technique which doesn't involve pressing it in, you know, with a sponge, because I understand that not all of you use a sponge. Maybe you might find that is actually quite drying for you. I can carry it off. I can really I love using my powder puff and just pressing the powder in, and it works well for me. But I am aware that that may not work for everyone. So I really want to make sure that I kind of show you a different technique so that you guys can use just your normal brush to apply your powder and also use a lighter powder like the Hourglass one. So, okay, we've gone into the under eye area and that has completely set it now. Now what I'm doing is getting my Urban Decay All-Nighter Long Lasting Makeup Setting Spray, and I'm going to spray this on my face first, and then I'm going to show you what the next step is. Spray the whole face. Now my face is damp. I'm going to get my sponge. I'm using the back of it, and I'm basically just going to press whatever's kind of on my face, you know, like the dampness from the spray. I'm going to just press it in, like very lightly. What this is doing is pressing that setting spray in, but it's also helping to just pick up any excess makeup that was there. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to go into our powder, that same powder and my setting brush, and I'm now going to go into areas like that I really don't kind of like want that shine. And that's kind of like the cheek areas here. And just kind of like around this area here. Now, whatever areas that I feel are still shiny, I tend to kind of go over that with whatever the excess is left on the brush. I know that after about 45 minutes, my natural oils in my skin are going to come out and it's going to kind of like look nice and healthy. So immediately it might look a little bit more matte than you'd like it to look in 45 minutes to an hour, but always bear that in mind. When you first apply your foundation and you finish it all, it's gonna look probably a little bit kind of more like, you know, oh wow, I've just put makeup on. It's that fresh, like just applied makeup, which is great if you like that look. But if you feel like it looks a bit heavy to you, give it an hour so that your natural oils can come out and it looks a little bit more lived in. Now I'm gonna just go over other areas, especially like my smile lines. And now whatever's left on the brush, I'm just gonna like going over the rest of the face. Now I know that my face does not look cakey at all, and close up it looks much more natural, like you know, it's skin, it doesn't look heavy, it doesn't actually look like I've applied as much as I have applied. I just want to finish off little areas of the face so just it looks a bit more kind of like, you know, you can see the finished result. I've done my finishing touches, my brows, bronzer, etc. And I really wanted you to see what it looks like once like the full face is kind of like done. Now, I didn't want to put like heavy eye makeup on because I wanted you to really focus on my base and see that it doesn't even look cakey when you don't have much eye makeup on. Because you know, like normally if you've got a fuller base, then you can go for a heavy eye look because it kind of balances it out. And if you have a full base and you don't put much eye makeup on, it can look like, wow, that's a lot. So I wanted you to see what this looks like even with like no eye makeup on. It is down to your, obviously, like the powder application, where you apply it, the type of powder that you use and your technique. But at the same time, I really hope you've seen that there are key elements of this tutorial that really stand out to you too. Like for example, your skincare, making sure that your skin is thoroughly hydrated so that it doesn't look dry, aged and cakey and heavy. You know, that can all contribute to foundation ending up looking cakey and heavy. So all in all, if you were to like follow this entire routine step by step, you'll see how amazing your skin will look and your foundation will look. But if you need to take away little parts, like I mentioned earlier, you can do. Now, I really do hope this has helped you, and I hope that you've seen that your skin can look natural with a decent amount of foundation and concealer if you feel that you need it. You know, not all of us can get away with that no makeup look, and I really wanted to address those of you who need that extra foundation or feel that you need that extra foundation. It's all about how you feel and how confident you feel. And if that means putting a bit more concealer on, so be it. You know, do what you feel makes you feel better. So I hope wherever you are in the world, you have the most amazing day and it's super productive and full of love and laughter. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope this helps you to stop your makeup looking cakey in the future. Now, if you do like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care and I'll see you soon.